My name is Jen Pagel. I'm here representing the Cantley Lab and Harry D. Thiers Herbarium. Let's do that. I received the Dean Taylor Memorial Award from NCB and was, with that, able to do some floristic fieldwork this summer in Snow Mountain Wilderness. To give some geographical context, Snow Mountain is in the high inner North Coast ranges. The wilderness area straddles Colusa Glen and Lake counties. This is an old map that came from a great paper published in 1985 by Heckert and Hickman, and it shows Snow Mountain in relation to other peaks in the range. The purpose of this talk is to share some photos of what we saw, including habitats, interesting taxa, a few thoughts on how fire might be impacting the flora, and future directions. So the Snow Mountain Massif is significant because it includes peaks exceeding 6,500 feet, making them some of the southernmost peaks exceeding that elevation within the range. A checklist of the flora was published in the 80s, and since then, 3 major wildfires have occurred there. This region has interesting geology and diverse mosaics of habitat which support high species richness and endemism. Several of these plants are rare and or at their southernmost range limit here, and those are the plants we've targeted this summer. Most of the soil on the mountain is rocky and poorly developed, so the plants that can hack it here are pretty tough, and I wanted to showcase some of the interesting taxa we saw. On the left is Lomatium ciliolatum. The corolla in this species is typically yellow, but on snow and sheet iron mountains has this unique purple coloration and is thought to be a high elevation form. Thank you to Julie Kierstead and Barbara Wilson for more information on this form and help with ID on INAT. In the center is Gallium grayanum varnanum. This is definitely the coolest gallium that I've seen. It's very small and almost succulent, and it's actually fairly common once you know what to look for when you're on the loose screw slopes up there. To the right is Cyclodenia humilis var humilis, and if you can see the CalFlora range map below, the Snow Mountain area population is disjunct, as are many of the populations in California, Utah, and Arizona. It's hypothesized that this species may be a paleoendemic whose range was constricted by changes in climate. And as I mentioned before, Snow Mountain hosts several rare and or coast range endemic plant species which are near their southern range limit here. The first photo is Epilobium niveum, the Snow Mountain willow herb, which is not very common or widely distributed on the mountain, but is super cool. For the Eriogonum heads out there, I know you're out there, there's Eriogonum nervulosum, which was named on Snow Mountain and is still doing quite well there. We saw large populations thriving on the ridges of the peaks. The perianth has a really neat color trajectory ranging from that creamy yellow to that deep rose. And restricted to the same ridgetop scree habitat is Anisocarpus scabrous, a very cool glandular member of Asteraceae with deciduous ray flowers. As you can see, there were some very happy individuals up there. So I was interested in studying the plants in this region because I wondered about the impact recent fires have had on so many species at margin of range on Snow Mountain. Much more work would be needed to have a completely updated checklist, but based on what we saw this summer, it appears that much of the documented diversity is still there, although in some cases abundance may have shifted. In all, over the course of 4 field trips this summer, we documented over 200 species with vouchered collections and or photos. I also made an INAT project that you can get to from that QR code or link, where you can see a species list, more photos, and a map of our observations. In the future, we aim to continue to make targeted collections from this region, including the nearby peak of St. John Mountain. And we're also interested in looking more deeply into some of the taxa of interest mentioned in this talk. Lastly, I'd like to thank the many people who supported the project. Without you, it would not have been possible. And special thank you to Sean and Brendan, who were in the field with me and who are in the front row today. Thank you.